Amplified unit, salute, welcome to the Amped Up Podcast for Wednesday, July the 12th, 2023. We have a packed, stacked, jacked show for you today. We are going to discuss LA Knight blazing through the WWE without the Machine even backing the dude. Wait till you hear the latest numbers with LA Knight. We heard about the merchandise sales earlier in the week over the 4th of July with his brand new t-shirt. Wait till you hear the latest numbers we have in other metrics. Speaking of numbers, wait till you hear what Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, but mostly Roman Reigns, wait till you hear what he did on SmackDown numbers-wise. Wait till you hear the quarter segment, a number that has not been seen or reached in years for professional wrestling. And we will cap the numbers talk off with the Raw rating this week. Monday Night Raw is actually losing viewers as they get closer to their second biggest event in the calendar year, SummerSlam. Monday Night Raw is once again going backwards. We'll talk all about it. We'll talk AEW Collision, their numbers, but more than that, the discussion on what is Collision. Should it be a third show? Is it supposed to be the B show? Is it more battling Rampage than anything to do with Dynamite? There's a whole discussion being had in the wrestling world. What is the placement of Collision? Why was it needed? Is it hurting the overall product? Everybody has a different opinion. That's what makes it a good discussion. We'll talk about it. And did CM Punk do what everybody thought he was going to do? Save AEW from the peddling AEW Dynamite numbers. CM Punk being back after all this time, is this what you guys envisioned? Or is it one of those, give it more time, BC, it's just been a month? Or right from the get-go, right from the jump, right upon his return, do you strike while the iron is hot? It's a discussion. It needs to be had. And this is the podcast where we have these tough to talk about discussions. We're going to talk AEW as well. We're going to talk Bubba saying more stupid, more dumb words. We're going to talk Undertaker challenging a shark. And BC is actually going to agree with the Disco Inferno. I know. Before you start chucking the coffees at your computer screens, on your big screen, maybe you're jogging or doing some errands and you just got BC in your earbuds right now, listening to this as a straight up podcast. Don't run off the road or into traffic. Hear me out. Hear me out as to why I actually agree with the Disco Inferno on something. As I said, we have a packed, jacked, and stacked show. We're going to talk Sethington as well, by the way. Sethington keeps on talking about how he holds resentment and he is displeased and displeasured by the main event of WrestleMania this past year with Cody Rhodes. We knew that already. He has admitted that. He keeps talking about it, but BC has an interesting audible. What if it was to be Sethington? Would that have really worked? Would that have really been better than Cody Rhodes? We gotta talk about it because Sethington is not seeing the bigger picture. I told you twice in this cold open teaser. It is a packed, jacked, stacked show with so much to talk about. There's only a couple of things to do left. First, smash that up on the way in, help out the algorithm, the platform. This tube, if you will, does not help the channel at all. The company doesn't back this superstar. The Machine doesn't get behind all of us. We have to get ourselves over, right? We're like the little ECW channel, basically. The platform doesn't help us, so we're going to get ourselves over. How do we do that? The amplified unit smashes that up. Let's rock and let's catapult ourselves to the top. Second thing I need you to do is grab your beverage of choice for BC at the Double Shot Extra Extra Dunkin', because BC runs on Dunkin'. And then all you gotta do after that, kick your feet up, and let's get amplified. Let's rock this out, man. BC's on his 4th coffee of the morning or early afternoon, whatever it is. BC's been up since 3 a.m. clanging and banging in the iron paradise, beating the how you doing out of that heavy metal. And now it is indeed time to get this amplified party started. Speaking of beating the how you doing out of some heavy metal, what about beating the shit out of some big gigantic sharks in the great Atlantic? Because that's what Mark Calloway, the Undertaker, was recently doing. I want to start off with that. Actually, what I want to do before I talk Mark Calloway in this crazy story, and we'll get to everything else that I teased in the cold open, but I want to start off a little bit lighthearted, man. We'll ease into the more serious topics. But what I want to do first and foremost is just give a big thanks to my super thanks super chatters. That's the thanks button down below. It is a way to tip the content creator. In this case, throw a coffee over to BC. It is never needed. Same thing I say about super chats in live streams. But the two put it up there, and you guys utilize it and throw coffees over to BC even on regular uploads. So I made it a point to always make sure that everybody gets a shout out that throws BC a coffee on the regular uploads like this. So if you don't mind, I would like to do that. I need the big screen up in order to do that real quick. I want to give a big thanks to Stephen Tate with a 10 spot, a couple of coffees being thrown over to BC on the last podcast yesterday or the day before. Time is getting all muffled, man. There's so much business BC has to take care of lately. I don't know what's yesterday, what's tomorrow. Did tomorrow happen yet? Back to the Future, man. Good movies, by the way. But time's all over the place. But whenever that last podcast was, Stephen Tate with that 10 spot, a cup of coffee on the house. Stephen Tate, I appreciate it, brother. That's actually a couple of coffees. It's a couple of coffees. So I appreciate you, Stephen Tate, man. And I'll double fist that shit on the way to the Iron Paradise tonight. Stephen Tate, I appreciate you, brother. Also, man, Mark Chisholm. Mark Chisholm, also gold status as of recently with a 5-spot coffee. Judgment Day is a bootleg version of the Bloodline that was never booked like a dominant force and should just be broken up and go their separate ways. Separate Ways is also a really great Journey song. The band Journey, if you never heard it, type in Journey Separate Ways. Oh, brah, you want to talk clanging and banging in the Iron Paradise and rocking out the how you doing of that heavy metal. Journey Separate Ways. What am I talking about right now? Who knows? I told you the coffee is kicking in. Anyway, Mark Chisholm, I appreciate the coffee, and you are correct. We want to like the Judgment Day. We like Finn, we like Rhea, we like Damian, and we like Dominic. Enough to boo the shit out of them. But there's no feeling or connection. The booking has failed them. They went 50-50 for too long at one point. And overexposing them on Monday Night Raw and then bringing them to NXT, it's not doing them any favors. Overexposing only helps when they're being booked correctly. Just putting them in all these segments in the most tiresome, the most nauseating, befuddling segments that you're never going to remember and you actually go out of your way to try to forget, that's not going to do them any favors. Mark Chisholm, you are right. Judgment Day, nothing more than a bootleg version of Bloodline. Corey Graves even mixed up the two this past Monday when he said, the Bloodline is imploding. Oops, I mean the Judgment Day. And Kevin Patrick was like, oh, it's all the same, Corey. It's all the same. And they were never a dominant force. And at this point, break them up, it would make no difference. It's sad to even say that, man. We really had such high hopes for the Judgment Day. And it failed. And now we're just being force-fed them like they're a real dominant force. Balor's going for the world title. Rhea has the championship for the women. One of two. And Damian has the Money in the Bank briefcase. But when he comes out to tease a cash-in, you hear crickets. That's sad, but it is the truth. Mark Chisholm, I appreciate the coffee, man. Big Nang with a 2-spot coffee says, thanks, BC. Thank you, Big Nang. 2023 Vikings stealing varsity jackets like back in 95 when a pirate stole the Hitman's jacket. Good memory there. Most of us tried to forget that. You know, Big Nang, it's funny. A lot of the, or all, let's say all of the packages you see on Bret Hart probably have nothing to do with that pirate stealing his jacket, right? Yeah, there's a reason for that. What failed back in 95, if you try to do it today, a lot of that shit's gonna fail if it wasn't done properly. Was that the Jacques? That pirate? Wasn't that or Jean-Pierre Lafayette? I think that was the pirate, wasn't it? Man, that's bringing back some memories back in 1995. Anyway, Big Nang. Appreciate it. And if I missed any others from a podcast before, hopefully I get that list and get to give you guys a shout out. Always make sure I usually do these at the end of the show, these super thanks, super chat shout outs. But I definitely wanted to just give that respect. I'm amplified right now. I want to give that level of support and respect and a shout out and acknowledgement right from the top of the show today. Because it's my show. It's my podcast. I can literally do that. And I can open the podcast off with a Shark versus Undertaker story. Now, if you guys have been living underneath a rock, what happened was Taker was no more was. I'm making up my own vocabulary. He was with her. He was with her. He was with his wife. He was with his wife. Say that 10 times fast. He was with his wife. I don't even know what's happening right now, man. Off the fucking rails right now in today's podcast, man. He was with his wife at the beach. I don't know, Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean. By the way, middle of the country, do you guys have like pristine beaches? I mean, you lakes. You don't have beaches though, right? I mean, you don't have a coast. What do you go to do you go to lakes? Like, I mean, East Coast, you go to the Jersey Shore, you got Daytona Beach, you got Myrtle Beach, you got Ocean City in Maryland and Jersey, you got Cape Cod. West Coast, you have all of the fucking West Coast. It's just one gigantic ocean/beach. What does the middle of the country do? I guess you all just got to get pools, right? Get your fucking pools from Walmart. Get your $20 pools here. $20 pools here. It's Amazon Prime Day. 20% off of pools here. What the fuck is in the coffee today, bro? What is happening? All right, we got to put the show back on the rails. We're off the rails right now. Undertaker is at the beach with his wife, the ocean. And the story goes that Taker, you could see a shark in the water, and Taker is staring him down. And the story is that he was protecting his wife, Michelle McCool, from the shark. But the truth is that Michelle was already away. She was protected. She just got to go up to the shoreline, try to get a soda pop, and take in the sun rays. She wasn't really in danger of the shark from what we're being told, but the story, it's like an old Italian story. It starts with something very minuscule, and before you know it, you have a hero, a villain, and a plot that could be sold to Hollywood producers. But that's what Italians do. So maybe Italians were starting this story. I don't know. But what I can tell you is that the story blew up to where The Undertaker was saving his wife, Michelle McCool, from a shark. Now, he was indeed staring down a shark, but Michelle was already safe. So this was literally the Taker going into business for himself and trying to make a comeback. Taker is trying to get one last WrestleMania match with Bruce the Shark. That's what you're telling me, man. He's trying to get that shark cage match. Michelle up in the shark cage. Taker, Mark Calloway versus Bruce the Shark. That could be That could be a badass fucking matchup, man. Book that shit, Vince. Come on, H. Pinocchio puss face. Maybe Pinocchio wrote the articles, by the way. Taker saves his wife from a shark. That's not exactly what happened, though, Paul. Come on, man. I'm trying to tell a lie here. So, Undertaker, man, true story. There's photos. You can get most of the story. I don't know what's true or not anymore with that Undertaker story. I think Michelle was already out from what I hear. The true version, she was already out of the way, saved. And he just kept eyeing the shark. He was bowing up to the shark. He was poking at the shark. He was giving the Undertaker stare to the fucking shark. A real shark! Moving on. I thought that was a fun story, actually. What do you guys want to talk about, man? Do you want to get serious, or should we just have a little bit more fun? Let's have a little bit more fun, and then we'll get serious. Deal? Let BC get a little bit of a couple, 2, 3 more sips of coffee, and then we'll talk Bubba Ray saying stupid words. What else is new? Typical Wednesday. Or every day for Bubba. So Bubba says this. He feels that Cody Rhodes has to tap out or should tap out Brockton Lesnar at SummerSlam. Cody Rhodes, who's already been massively butchered in the booking department at WrestleMania. Thankfully, we still cheer him, but he just feels like an average guy because this whole feud with Brockton without a purpose, and he even had to readmit that on Monday, that there's no purpose to this feud. Cody said that again live on Monday. That's the second time on TV. He's admitted there's no purpose to this feud. And then you expect the fans to get behind it? Of course not. So he feels like another average guy. Comes out, we're like, oh, Cody. I forget he's even a part of Raw, guys. And he comes out, I'm like, yeah, Cody! Right? Like at the Mented fucking Seal, we all throw our fucking hands together. It's Cody! But nobody really cares right now. He's doing nothing, man. More story to tell my ass. If you ever cross paths with Roman Reigns in the future, it's just a whole nother book at this point. It's not continuing any fucking story. So Cody Rhodes is in this thing with Brockton. From Busted Open says that Cody should tap out Brockton Lesnar. Listen to me very fucking carefully. This is a horribly booked feud for many reasons. Again, the biggest thing, it doesn't have a purpose. On top of that, Cody can't lose any of these, and he already lost one because they want to do 3, which means they have to be 1-1 going into the rubber match, which happens to be at SummerSlam. So right off the bat, Cody has to lose one, and he did. Secondly, remember when Cody beat Brockton the first time, and he ran away, literally ran away. How many times you see faces do that? Never even looked at the crowd, ran away to the back. Yeah, that made Cody look really good. Then he lost the second one. And now you can't have Cody lose, clearly, a second time. But how do you make Brock Lesnar lose and still look and feel like a beast because you know you're going to continue to see Brock Lesnar in the future? At Mania, he's fucking around with Omos. And nobody cares about what Brockton is doing because he's taking on Omos, sadly. So WrestleMania was wasted. Omos even admits that. Omos recently just admitted he thought he was being ribbed when they told him he was taking on Brockton at WrestleMania. He thought he was being ribbed because he knew he was nowhere near a match like that, or should he be in a match like that. Omos even admitted that. But fans don't want to be honest about it? No, come on. So Brockton has not even felt special before, going into, and after Mania. Then he attacks Cody for no reason. It was supposed to be for the world title. That would have made sense. He was waiting for it to come off of Roman because the last stipulation with the Roman match was that he can never go for the title as long as Roman's champion. So it makes sense that he would attack Cody when Cody got the... But it was all butchered! And Roman ended up taking the title on vacation for 2 months. And he's done nothing with the title since. It's just a bloodline implosion angle. It's working. It's the only story that works in wrestling right now. So fans are captivated, but he doesn't need a title. But we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But for Cody Rhodes, Brockton has not felt like anything for the longest time. Cody Rhodes lost basically all momentum. And what do you do now with Brockton? He's got to lose at SummerSlam, that's obvious. But how do you do this and make the guy save face and still seem and feel like one of the baddest son of a bitches on the planet, Brockton Lesnar. How do you do that? Well, Bubba says Cody needs to tap him out. No, Bubba. Brockton Lesnar does not need to be tapped out. And if that ever happens in the future, which I could be okay with when he is definitely in his last year for sure, and he's going away into the yonder, then tap him out. But it's got to be the right person. Cody Rhodes is not a guy you're going to believe is going to tap out Brockton Lesnar. Stop, cut, pause, halt the bullshit, Bubba, because you're being stupid to the most amplified of measures. Cody needs to win, yes. Brockton needs to look dominant somehow in defeat. And you gotta do it in a way where the win is significant. The win is significant, but Brockton is still looked at as a beast. If blonde-haired Mr. America Cody Rhodes taps out the beast, where do you go from there? He's at WrestleMania with Omos. He's been beat 2 out of 3 against Cody and taps the fuck out to Cody, a dude basically, for all intents and purposes, nearly half his size. And you want us to believe in Brockton going forward? No, Cody should not be tapping out Brockton. Think of something more creative that's going to benefit Brockton and not just Cody. Thanks, sincerely, the Amplified Unit. What do you guys want to go to next? You want to start talking a little bit of numbers? Oh no, you know what? Let's stick with some words being said from some of the talent or X. In this case, current talent, the world champion. I think that's what they're calling it. I don't know what this title is even called. I don't care. It's a participation trophy paper championship. And that's what Sethington Rollins is holding. Now, Sethington, once again, is talking about, and he's been doing this in interviews as of late, and I respect the fact that he doesn't hold back on how he truly felt, and he's telling the truth. But he keeps on talking about how he has this resentment, and it was a good resentment. It got him to where he is now, so think about that, first of all. But his displeasure over the main event at WrestleMania being Cody Rhodes in that spot against Roman Reigns. I need Sethington, and this is with all the respect possible for that dude. I need him to think about the alternative, the audible, right? What are you going to do? Are you going to pluck Cody out of that spot when he's got all the momentum? He's white hot. Are you going to insert yourself there? Now, remember, guys, the shit was just getting over, right? And that's why people say Seth Rollins is one of the most over wrestlers right now. It's because of the sing-along. You don't have to believe me, but that's a fact. Go to before the sing-along. All last year, going for the U.S. title, right? And winning the U.S. title a couple of times. In most of the Raw main events last year, and nobody cared. Ratings going backwards faster than the Titanic sinking, unfortunately, to the bottom of the ocean. The ratings were right there with it. From Monday Night Raw. That's with Sethington Rollins, right? Nobody cared about the matches. The U.S. title could not have been any more irrelevant with it on Rollins, we thought, until Austin Theory got it for the 7th time, it seems. But that's another story. Sethington was an afterthought. They needed to do something with that dude. The half joker, half serious Sethington. Seth Rollins didn't even know what his character was. It wasn't working. The sing-along came around, right? The Disney sing-along on ice came along, and that is what catapulted him to thinking he should be taking on Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. If you take the sing-along away, nobody was asking for Seth Rollins versus Roman at WrestleMania 39 over Cody Rhodes. So you can be displeased. You cannot like the decision, but that's on you and Paul Levesque, your buddy. That's your good friend. You were being booked that way. You guys thought that the U.S. title could act like a world title. You guys thought that the main events on Raw, you guys thought that was going to work, and it failed. No, you had no business at Mania. Cody Rhodes was the right call, and at the end of it, it was a botched call not to put the title on him. So as much respect as we can give to Sethington, and I'm glad he's over today, no, you can be displeased, you can have resentment, you cannot like the fact that Cody was in the main event, but it's the right decision. Because most of us, if we knew that that version of Rollins was going to be in the main event against Roman for a rematch of a rematch of a rematch of a rematch, by the way, no thank you for a lot of us. You didn't deserve that spot over Cody Rhodes. It doesn't matter if he got injured and he was out for 9 months. That's the breaks, literally, in life. How over he was even after 9 months should tell you something. And his sing-along is just a fraction of the, it's one little, and then we're moved on. And we still support Cody Rhodes. Much respect to Sethington, but get over the WrestleMania shit, bro. Your character was not where it was at the time, and your good pal, Schnoz McGee, Pinocchio Pussface, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, did not book you correctly. And you can blame Vince all you want, but that's your good pal, the head creative chief officer. You gotta be able to make some fucking moves. Look, he bitched about WrestleMania, and they made a title for this dude. So they were moving mountains for Sethington. It just wasn't working for a reason. It's got to be organic. It's got to be authentic. Just want to touch up on that as well. Now, moving on. Let's talk some numbers. Then we'll get to AEW and what Collision pulled in this week. And a bigger conversation about AEW. Should Collision even exist? We'll have that talk. We'll talk Disco Inferno saying some words that once again infuriates the wrestling community. I know everybody makes fun of Disco Inferno. It's the cool thing to do. Disco is saying dumb shit like BC says Bubba says dumb shit. And that may be true. It's not like I listen to Disco Inferno. But something did catch my eye, and there's some truth to it. And I'm going to break a little bit of facts for you guys you might not like when it comes to the Disco Inferno. We'll get to all that. Let me get to some numbers first. And I want to start with L.A. Knight. Yeah. L.A. Knight. Wait till you hear the numbers this dude is pulling in. L.A. Knight recently, there was a new shirt that debuted for him. It just says, yeah, and it's around that, like, bubble bursting type thing, and it's got the yeah in the middle. Now, BC has not bought pro wrestling merch in a long time. The wrestling product doesn't deserve that, to be honest. So, and there's just not cool, fun merch anymore. They're just not. But that, yeah, I wanted to show that support to L.A. Knight. So in the future, if I ever come across it, I may just get that t-shirt, to be honest with you, and help support that dude. But we already talked about the t-shirt sales over the 4th of July, the debut weekend of that t-shirt, and he took into the 5 spot and took over the 4th spot and eventually for a while the 3rd spot over Stone Cold. It was just Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and then LA Knight bumped into the 3 spot over Stone Cold. But guys, I have new numbers for you that just show you how LA Knight is absolutely soaring to the top without the Machine backing him, by the way. Could you imagine if the Machine got just a little bit behind this dude, took him to the next level so then the casual fans can get behind him, right? Because you have those idiots that they don't understand how this works, and they're like, well, by losing BC, and by fruit roll up to Xavier, by keeping him off all the pay-per-views, WrestleMania, Night of Champions, Backlash, having him lose when he finally got on a pay-per-view like Money in the Bank, keeping him off of Madison Square Garden SmackDown and putting him in a dark segment. By doing that, BC, it's getting him over even more. You don't know what you're talking about. To who? The IWC, which already has proclaimed him over? We're the ones who are put him on that pedestal. You're not going to make him more over to us. We already know he's destined for the top, and he should be. The point now is that when the iron, you got to strike the iron when it's hot, right? You got to catch that lightning in a bottle somehow. You have to reach out and grab that momentum. Accept it. Consume yourself with that momentum. That's why when H was suspended, punished for the click saga that took place when Ramon and Diesel were exiting WWF and they all got together in Madison Square Garden in the ring, faces and heels. That's not supposed to happen. Well, Paul Levesque was supposed to win King of the Ring when he got Das Boot. It was clear what should happen. Stone Cold was ready to get to the next level. The fans were backing him. So McMahon went with Stone Cold, Stone Cold, Stone Cold. Right? That's what happened, and it's justified. It needed to happen. You wouldn't put it on Savio Vega, the King of the Ring, over Stone Cold. You wouldn't give it to Jake the Snake Roberts. It was Stone Cold's time. You strike while the iron is hot. You wouldn't have Daniel Bryan show up to WrestleMania 30 and lose the match and not become champion. You wouldn't have Kofi Mania, ! With a non-title victory for Kofi. There's certain things you don't do. Hogan doesn't show up to WrestleMania 3 and not slam and win over Andre the Giant. Cody should never show up to WrestleMania and not win the fucking title. Read the temperature of the room, bro. And no, LA Knight had to win Money in the Bank, right? Now it's on Damian. Nobody gives a shit. You strike while the iron is hot. You capture lightning when it's in the bottle. You read the temperature of the room and you rock with that momentum. It's what's always happened in pro wrestling and it always worked. And then you say, well, he's super over. He's going to be super over if they keep booking him off of shows. Stop. Cut the shit. It's the IWC that is going to be proclaiming this nonstop. We already are doing that. You now bump them to the next level. You put them on TV when they're this hot. Why is LA Knight not even on TV? Who do you think's gonna bitch, moan, complain, and rant? The IWC, not the casuals, not the people that you want to see this guy or gal that's gonna get this really good reaction. You want to see that. You want to hear that, right? As a new viewer or a casual or a lapsed. You're not giving them the opportunity if you're keeping a guy who's really hot in the IWC off of TV. That's not cooling them off. That's literally shutting them down. So stop with that. There's this new thing in 2023 when wrestlers just keep losing or they're kept off events, that'll make them more over. Cody's not any more over now than he was going in to Mania. He's not. He's getting the good pop. If anything, he feels more average than anything. Careful with LA Knight, man. He needs to be on TV right now. He needs to be on pay-per-views. This isn't just bad booking, it's non-booking. Listen to what he did without the machine behind him. LA Knight was in a dark segment before SmackDown. That was done so MSG doesn't chant LA Knight throughout the arena for the whole SmackDown show. They wanted to shut everybody up. See, LA Knight was out there before the show. You saw him. Now, can you please shut up and don't ruin the show? So he goes out there in a dark segment with Hit Row. Hit Row. Think about that. Yeah, absolute snooze fest, right? Goes out there. They put it up hours later. The next morning, they put it up on WWE's fucking page, right? I think here on this platform, WWE's page. You wanted LA Knight, you got LA Knight right here. This is what he did. Do you guys realize he pulled in 1.3 million views so far on that video alone? 1.3 million views. If you guys are comparing them, it is the highest rated video in the last 7 days, tied 1.3 with SmackDown's top 10 moments, which included the biggest moment of the week with the Bloodline 45-minute 3-segment scenario storyline. LA Knight matched all. If you're wondering, Raw's top 10 didn't even come anywhere near that. I think they may have topped off at 1 million thus far. But SmackDown, all of the 10 moments, I don't know how you're going to find 10 great moments on SmackDown. There was one, it was the Bloodline, then you called it a day. But 10, and a lot of people, they say, I just watched the highlights, basically. Well, there you go. And that only pulled in 1.3 thus far. LA Knight by himself has pulled in 1.3. By himself on a seg that wasn't even on the show. A guy not even booked like a jobber, but not booked at all. Basically. And he, by himself. You know, it's funny. I think the video itself is like LA Knight takes on Hit Row by himself. It's ironic because he's taking over the numbers by himself. Machine's not helping him. He tied all of SmackDown in viewership on this platform. 1.3, and it's not even done yet. He may surpass SmackDown's video. If you're wondering, in the last 7 days, those are the only 2 videos to reach 1.3. The only one next in line was 7 days ago, the top 21 entrances or something like that in WWE history. Something, I don't know. LA Knight. I got to give a big salute, man. I love when people scratch and claw and get themselves over. We've been doing it on this channel for over 5 years. This platform has never helped us. Never. Literally. Has done everything to try to fucking suppress us. And slowly but surely, we keep gaining that momentum, man. We are not backing down. We are scratching, clawing. We remain amplified. And we're getting ourselves over. To LA Knight, man. I am so proud of that dude. Keep rocking. Those that know, if you know, you know. And we're going to keep supporting. To LA Knight, salute. Now, on the topic of numbers, I got to give a shout out over to Roman Reigns. All the Bloodline, man. Paul Heyman, Jimmy, Jey Uso, Solo Sikoa, but it's the big dog, the big dog. Oh my god, flashbacks on Michael Cole. For years trying to force down our throat, the big dog. No, we'll tell you who's the big dog. It's LA Knight. Yeah, you just refuse to believe it. But I gotta give props over to Roman Reigns, man, the tribal chief, if you will. Guys, the quarter segment, or one of the 3. The peak of SmackDown's viewership, which remained consistent at 2.5. That's very hard to do these days. This storyline literally is just catapulting WWE to heights they have not seen in a long time. I bet you they're so thrilled they came across this storyline. If you take that out, I don't even want to know where WWE would even be. I mean, you could spend an hour on that. The number, guys, that peaked was just over 3 million in viewership. 3 million. That is a number that a quarter segment has gotten that has not been reached in years in WWE or professional wrestling at large. 3 million viewers was the peak of SmackDown for one of their quarters. And that was the Bloodline. I think that was that might have been the last one, actually, too, to see how the show was going to end when they found out Jey was coming back. That might not have been the 45-minute first 3 segs. That might have been the last seg. So I'll do more info on that. But 3 million, there was an adjustment, a big adjustment. At first, they thought it was just a 2.7. The latest adjustment we got is over 3 million, guys. So I got to give big props to Roman Reigns, man. For that night, truly the big dog. That doesn't change anything I've said, by the way. He does not need a champion. Nothing he has done since Mania calls for him to get a title. I know I sound like a broken record. I'll say it again. He went on vacation for almost 2 months. He came back. He's had 2 straight tag team matches. And he is now in an internal implosion family storyline where the biggest accessory on the line is the tribal lay. I mean, you look at SmackDown, man. The biggest reaction from the crowd, what Solo, what Jey, what Roman were all looking at like that it was the top prize, was that red tribal lay more than the title. Roman threw down the title. That tribal lay is what this is all about. Control of the family, the power. Where is the family going to be in the next 10, 20, 30 years? Is it best with him at the helm, or maybe with Jey? Maybe there needs to be a change. Nothing Roman has done calls for him to have the title. Everything Cody has done calls for the title, especially if you're going to have a summer-long feud with Brockton. So I remain confirm on that. This still would have been super over, and he doesn't even need a title. In fact, the title is basically just held hostage right now with Roman because they don't know what to do with it. That's the truth. Guys, he has not defended in 4 months. It's July. Early April is when he last defended it. April, May, June. It's now July. 4 months, no title defense. And now what? He's going to finally defend it at SummerSlam against Jey. We've already seen the climax of that. We'll watch because the storyline is so good. But we've seen Jey versus Roman at the highest peak. Hell in a Cell I Quit match. How do you go farther than a Hell in a Cell I Quit match? We hope the best, but nobody truly believes. As an Usos fan, by the way, my favorite tag team with the Briscoe brothers, Jey Uso, nobody's going to believe he's taken the title, and he shouldn't. The fact that Roman was already pinned by the Usos, 3 years hasn't been pinned, and it's the Usos that do it. No, Roman should have never been pinned. We all know that. Just like Jey should not be taking a title from him at SummerSlam. So, no, I stand firm that Roman should not even have the title right now, but you already went too far. You ain't going to have Jey Uso get it. 3 million in viewership. Man, they struck gold, and I can tell they have a lot of thanking Paul Heyman to do with this. A lot of what you're seeing, dude, it's Paulie dangerously, Paul Heyman. Numbers, let's go over to Raw real quick. They're going backwards as we get closer to SummerSlam. They actually pulled over a 197 last week somehow. I don't know how. Still can't clinch and clunch and klooch. Bitch, botch, and butch. PD Dunn. They still cannot clinch 2 million without Monday Night Football opposition. So Monday Night Football is coming back in a little over a month, or end of August, early September. It's coming back in about a month. And they still can't sniff 2. They came close. Maybe they sniffed. They can't grasp 2 million. They went so close to 197. You figure as we get closer to SummerSlam, if WWE is doing their job and Pinocchio Pussface is putting on his best efforts, that maybe they'll clinch 2 and then some. But no. This past Monday night, the wrestling world unanimously, and we don't usually do this, we unanimously declared that this was a shit show Monday night. The show sucked. And they should be thankful they only lost 170,000 viewers. Because that's all they lost. That's a lot of people, though, that said check you. You can say Home Run Derby, which nobody watches anymore, really, man. Or it's a fraction of what it used to be. You can claim that Seinfeld was putting on some of their best reruns. Maybe HBO was putting on their real sports. You can come up with any excuse you want. But WWE just put on a bad show, and they should be thanking their lucky stars that they somehow got a 1.81 this week. 1.81. They lost nearly 170,000 viewers. And guys, we're getting closer to SummerSlam. You should be picking up viewers, not losing them. As it stands right now, 7, 14, 21, 22, 20, 24 days away from SummerSlam. Well, I'm sorry, 23 days away, my bad. That's Steiner math, my bad. 23 days away from SummerSlam, and they're losing viewers on Raw. They lost 170. If they lose another 170, guys, do the math. You're in the 1/6s at that point. So, it may not seem like a big thing, but this is the second biggest show of the calendar year. You want to talk ratings? You go over to AEW Collision. And this past Saturday night show, which is always the latest to get numbers in because it's a Saturday and you just don't get them till Tuesdays usually. But they pulled a 580,000 viewership back from the Rebels. That was the 4th of July's 453. I think forget about it. Debuted at an 816, then scored a 595, then to a 453 holiday weekend, and now at 580. So still less than week 2's non-holiday 595. So when we settle through all the shit after 1 more month, 4 more weeks, you guys see this at about what? Roughly 450 to 550, right? Is where it's going to shake up. Especially when competition starts coming in. College football, this, that, and the other thing. There's going to be a lot. Boxing, UFC will hold their Saturday night events. WWE now holds a lot more Saturday night shows than Sundays. You're going to get a lot of opposition. So let's be fair, but let's be real. 450 to 550 will be your climax, right? So it opens the discussion, guys, and this is just a talk. Nobody get up in their feels. Nobody's got to get offended. Not like we care on this channel. But real discussion. If 450 to 550 will be your climax, with what was supposed to be the savior of AEW, right? The biggest star still, CM Punk, is what we were told. And you're battling Rampage numbers. Rampage, 450 to 550. Is Collision needed, guys? It's a real discussion. Is Collision needed when Rampage was already pulling those numbers and you have not found a way to make Rampage relevant? Wouldn't it be best to put your resources into Now, I understand, guys, first of all, BC, it's not Tony Khan's decision. TNT, TBS, Warner Discovery wanted it. Guys, I understand, but there's many conversations are had between Tony Khan, Warner Brothers, Discovery, many conversations, guys. Tony Khan is not just going to be held hostage. You do this or you're gone. No, Tony Khan would break down real talk. I would hope. Right? Many industry professionals were already stating that these numbers were going to be what was going to happen, even with Punk. And B, it might hurt the overall AEW product. So far, they're correct. So the discussion at least has to be had. Wouldn't it have been best to put all your resources into Rampage or hear me out, maybe just take away Rampage? Maybe that's just going to pull away viewership from Collision. Forget about Dynamite. Maybe it's hurting Collision and vice versa. Does something need to be done about Rampage? Because with the addition to Collision, Rampage gets booted to the C-level show. But because the numbers are so together, people are going to look at Collision as also kind of a C show. Is there even a B? Is there a B show? Is there a B show? Dynamite's your A show, and they can't even get back to 900,000. Their top tier of their niche was 950, and now it's sad that it's back to 850. 850 is their new top tier, and that's the low tier of what was their top tier. I used to say 850 to 950. Now when they settle at 850, people go, hey, nice bounce back. It's sad to see what happened to AEW Dynamite. Collision has not helped that yet. I say yet because I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. We were all hoping that when Punk came back, there was going to be a massive storyline. Right from the jump, day one. It humors me at a tragic level when I see people go, basically, he just came back, relax, there's going to be a major story. Let him get his ring rust off, No! You have one shot at a first impression. If you're lucky in the life of wrestling, right, in the world of wrestling, you might get a second shot at a first impression. If you go away for a long time, for instance, and you get to come back brand new with something original, something organic for the audience to feast on. Punk got that. AEW got that, man. 816 is not a good number, but that's the highest number that show is going to get, unless something major happens. So right when you have the highest level of viewership, which we all knew was going to be week one, is when you give the audience a reason to keep coming back. They didn't do that. They put together a 6-man tag, and the faces cheered their way off the air to the hard camera. And over 200,000 fans the next week said, check you. Another 175 the following week said, check you. That's what happened. And then another 150 because of we'll say 4th of July had an impact, no question. I don't use that as a mulligan, but we'll say that's why. But no, the reason why you're going to be fucking around with 450 to 550, almost half of the audience you started with, which is not good, 816. The reason is because where are the stories? There's little ones. BC, if you watch the show, you'll know. I've watched it. It can't be live. No, I'm a grown adult on a Saturday night. I have things to do. It's not even through pleasure. It's business I'm doing on Saturday nights. But I see what I need to see. I understand the little stories, right? Oh, but look at House of Black. Look at what they're doing. No, I understand. It's not captivating anybody. And I'm going to give some praise here, some positives. I like the feel of Collision. Can I just say that? I don't know if they did it this past week, but they start the shows with the old school Saturday night's main event feel, where right before they go to the opening signature and theme, which is Elton John's Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting, right before they go to that, whoever's in the main event, they're giving you a promo. And in the back is the Collision logo. I remember Saturday night's main event. This one, it's the red, yellow, black logo of Collision. It just feels organic. It feels special. And then the show goes on. You get some good wrestling. There's a good feel to it. There's a little bit of fun. So those are positives. But there's nothing on the show that makes you come back the next week. That's the problem. It's a, I can take it or leave it situation. I don't mind Collision. You can call it the best show of the week, and it won't matter. It's still not must-see TV. And that's what we were hoping for, especially when Punk came back. So it just opens the door to discussion. Did Punk truly save AEW? And if so, how? These numbers don't show that. It didn't help Dynamite that much. They're still at 850. Collision's ratings have just went down. It looks like they're starting to bottom off around 550. They're going to go back to 450 a lot. Sometimes they may hit 600. But goodbye to that 816, which wasn't good anyway. But at least you had a chance to tell people why they should keep tuning back. They didn't do anything with Punk on week 1. They didn't do anything with Punk on week 2, week 3, week 4. He's in an Owen Hart tournament. He's taking on Samoa Joe. That may be good for some of your niche fans, but even your niche fans are turning away in droves. That's what the numbers will tell you. This is an honest discussion on how to save AEW. You better start making fans have to tune in on Saturday night somehow. Yeah, I had another plan, but I ain't no way I'm missing this shit. They may be considered a nerd. That's fine. We're not a nerd channel here. We're not wrestling nerds. The Amplified Unit, diehard wrestling fans, we're not wrestling nerds. But if you want to say we nerded out on a Saturday because we canceled plans because we had to catch Collision for a certain reason or two, by all means, we'll nerd the fuck out. But just give us that reason. There is not a reason to watch Rampage on Friday night. None. And now there's no reason to watch Collision on Saturday nights. They were hoping that the name CM Punk alone was going to be the reason. It's not. It failed. I'm not saying Collision's a failure yet, but it failed. They have to go back to the drawing board, and I'm trying to help because if they keep up doing this when real competition is on the horizon, especially when they have tape shows, not every week is going to be live. So you're going to have tape shows that's going to take a cut. You're going to be going up against WWE and college football and boxing and UFC all on the same Saturday. What are you going to do when Collision pulls a 300,000? What's the reaction when they dip into a 300,000? Oh, it's a Saturday night, basically, and there was heavy competition. Wow. Thank goodness we were saved by Phil Brooks. Thank goodness there's a third show when we can't even get the second show to stand on its own legs. And the fucking, the flagship show can't even pull anywhere near 1 million. Why oversaturate? Why overexpose when you're not in the position to do such? It's a company that's, 5-ish years old? 5-ish? And they're acting like they're WWE and they've been around for 50 plus. Take time. 3 major primetime shows. 3. Is that needed? Guys, it's an honest discussion and you want my take? No. 3 primetime shows is oversaturating the market and overexposing your own company. And sometimes we're seeing it with Judgment Day. Overexposure is not a good thing. It's funny. I learned that a long time ago from Phil Brooks. It was in WWE, and he was asked about something. I forgot what it was, about how he wasn't showing up regularly, something like that, or NXT. I think maybe he was with the NXT faction, and how he didn't want to be all over the show like the NWO was back in the WCW. That's good overexposure. But Punk said, sometimes it's just not good to be overexposed. And I remember Phil Brooks saying that, right? And it's just ironic that now here's this third show centered around CM Punk. You're overexposing a company that's 5 years old. And sadly, guys, if you add up all of their ratings, you can add in the 800,000 from Dynamite, you can bring in the 400,000 from Rampage, and then pull in the 600 from Collision. I'm off by a few tens of thousands here and there, but I'm adding a few. So you add the 8. You can make that, what'd I say, 8, 4, and 6, 1.8. And you're not even pulling in Monday Night Raw's total rating, which was 1.81. I mean, all three combined, you're right there with one Raw show, which is one of the worst shows weekly on cable, Monday Night Raw, sadly. It pains me to say that. I don't want to say that. I actually watch that show on Mondays. It's painful to get through it. It's more than a chore. All three of AEW shows can't even equate or just equal maybe some weeks Monday Night Raw. It's an honest discussion. I thought this was a bad call from the jump, but I was hoping they have many avenues to go down to make us give a shit about Saturday night's Collision. And it's clear. It's like another Rampage. It just feels a little better. It's a little more fun. But there's no reason to watch. It's an honest discussion, guys. These numbers are telling us that this company needs to do something with Rampage and Collision, and it needs to start immediately. I admit, Collision feels better. It's more fun than the other shows. What if you just added some immaculate storytelling to a couple of segments? Watch how drastically that could change it. For those that say they don't want story, they want less stories. They want more just wrestling. They want wrestler A versus wrestler B in their underwear to do a bunch of sequences, high-flying moves, and go, wow. What if we all could enjoy it and just add some story with it? Real story, guys. Not these little bits that, like, nobody truly cares about. Speaking of LA Knight. No, LA Knight, we're behind. Disco Inferno, not so much. A lot of people like to dog out Disco Inferno. He's got these opinions in the pro wrestling world that a lot of fans don't want to hear. They feel he's just bashing companies like AEW. And he's taking heat once again. He's talking about how fans are going away in droves because of all of the high-flying shit that they're trying to copy from wrestlers before them. Everybody is just a carbon copy of one another. And they're all just trying to... It's just overexposed. Let's use that word, right? I'll paraphrase a little for Disco Inferno. Overexposing their own style. And he caught a lot of heat like everything he says, apparently. This is what I hear in the community. People are not fond of Disco. But BC's actually going to agree. He's telling no lies there, right? The problem, they overexpose their style. That's true. How many suicide dives can you guys see in a week, in a night, in a match? Canadian destroyers are no longer special. Moonsaults from the top to the outside on 10 people waiting to catch you is exactly what Disco said, by the way. Those are not special anymore. It's the same as a super kick, a moonsault to the top. You're putting your life and career on the line when you can just do a super kick and call it a day. Disco's actually not telling lies. No, people are dogging out Disco because it's Disco Inferno, right? He was a comedy character they look at, right? He never got over. He was a clown. He was a jobber. Now, I'm not defending Disco. Never met the dude, never cared to, don't care about the dude, whatever. But, and I don't dislike the dude either, to be honest. I always enjoyed Disco Inferno when he came down, man. It was fun when Disco came down, doing his whole shtick with the fucking theme music. What people forget is that Disco was over with fans. You got to go back to WCW Nitro, WCW back then. Disco Inferno was fun as fuck. Whether you were mocking him, clowning him, you were having fun with the whole shtick. This dude knew. At his height and weight, what is Disco Inferno's... I'm not going to bother editing this. Let's just do this in real time. Disco Inferno's height. 6'1", my ass. 6'1", Disco Inferno? I'm not buying that shit. I say 6 feet tops, and I'll even say 5'11". But the dude was not the biggest dude. Look at all his matches. Look who he's in there with. Again, I'm calling BS on 6'1", but that's the build height that I'm getting on good old Glenn Disco Inferno. But with what he was working with, my point, never the biggest dude. What he was working with in a roster that had Nash, Hall, Hogan, Macho, Sting, Luger, Giant, the list goes on and on. It's an intimidating lineup, and Disco Inferno is one of those names we remember 20, 25 years later. He knew, I'm going to go out there, and I'm at least going to give the audience a chance to have fun. I'm going to go out there and be outside myself. I'm going to let the audience fucking rock out. You want Disco Inferno, Bischoff? I'm going to give you a character you're going to remember. Guys, he went to go into the NWO Black and Red Wolfpack with Hall and Nash. I recently came across a video. It was an entrance that they were doing. That was the video. It was an entrance of the Wolfpack. Hall, Nash, and there was Glenn, Disco Inferno, with them. And they were just cool. Now, take away Disco. Yeah, in the end, he was like the third wheel. But Hall and Nash brought you back to a time, man, where they were just cool. Hall and Nash taking their time, having fun, fucking with the crowd. The way they were walking, jamming to their own music. They were just cool. And that's what pro wrestling is missing today. It just doesn't feel cool. Nobody's cool. It's not cool. Nash and Hall, man, they were just maybe ahead of their time, maybe at the right time, I don't know. But they were just cool. And there's Glenn Gilberti, Disco Inferno, man, right there with them. It's part of the shtick. He's doing the disco. Nash shrubs him aside, rips his shirt off while he's doing a little bit of a dance. The crowd's loving it. You know, people bash Disco Inferno for his takes on pro wrestling. I get it. Maybe they're offended. He's trashing their company that they love. The tribalism is strong. I get it. But Disco Inferno, a lot of people may have just forgotten. He was more than just in fact, he wasn't actually a traditional jobber anyway. Disco Inferno was not just at the dance, he was in the dance. I can't believe I'm over here saying positive things about a dude that gets bashed in the wrestling community like Disco, but I gotta give the dude some props. He speaks some truth. There's certain things I come across with these dudes in the podcasting world, that little snippets like Bubba Ray or Disco or his partner, I believe, is Conan. You know, and a lot of it is absolutely stupid. Dumbfounding is how I am after I hear what Bubba talks about. But some of the things that Disco says, he totally just gets discredited because it's Disco. The guy was a part of the dance, man. The guy was a part of the dance. And the sad truth, I'll wrap it up. Where am I going with this? Disco Inferno, and I want you to hear this because I mean this. Disco Inferno at least made you feel something back in the WCW Nitro days. There was a feeling there. There was fun there. Disco Inferno was more over than 90% of the wrestlers today. I said it. Damn, what's in BC's coffee? What? I was around in that time. Trust me. I may have been doing extracurricular activities around that time. I was a teenager, but I was pretty coherent. Disco Inferno is a dude that if I heard that music today and he comes down the aisle, I would feel something a lot more than a Drew Gulak, a Tozawa, a Ricochet, and even a Drew McIntyre and a Sheamus. How sad is that? We have so much respect for Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. McIntyre, a guy who we thought when he came back from this long hiatus, they were going to use him properly. He was going to be booked in a way we cared about. And there he is doing comedy segments with Scooter McGee, Matt Riddle. Drew McIntyre's music hits, and sadly, I roll my eyes back because I know this is going to be a boring 5 to 10 minutes. Sheamus comes down to the ring, and what are we going to get? A banger and a clanger of a match? Sadly, you can look at it as sadly, Disco Inferno was more relevant than anything these people are doing today. You may not want to hear that. You cannot agree with it all you want. I don't care. I remember Disco Inferno coming down with Nash and Hall, NWO Wolfpack, or Disco on his own with the Disco Fever theme. And it's more of a reaction, more of a feeling than you get with 90% plus of the wrestlers today. Any company. That's how I'll leave you. Talk about a hot take. Damn! I told you it was packed, stacked, and jacked. You can believe BC when he's speaking this type of truth, man, this type of honesty, which is just, it's what we do on this podcast. And thanks to you, my amplified unit, Red Team Go, and my Gold Team, my channel members, all my super thankers, and everyone in between, man. We're going to keep on rocking straight into the weekend. Friday's SmackDown, there'll be a full review. You know what? You should already be subbed and notified anyway, because tomorrow there's going to be an amped up. I think I'm going to be able to get some time. There'll be an amped up podcast tomorrow for Thursday too. So a lot more coming up, man. My amp unit, until next time, and there will be a next time. Top guy, I am out. That is the Amped Up Podcast for Wednesday, July the 12th, 2023. BC now saying check you. Peace!